Hello, my name's Tom Cahill. It's 1 o'clock, it's 1300 on Thursday, the 23rd of March 2017. This is just a quick video, and it's just interesting and slightly confusing that this has cropped up, right? This was a link that was sent to me by somebody via Skype, and it goes to YouTube, but this is a BBC News article, right? And what it is, I'll put the link in the description, is for a kind of petition to tell Facebook that they've got to, Facebook must block illicit images and videos of children. And to cut a long story short, but it is a short story anyway, so it's not that difficult, the BBC have gone online and gotten into these secret groups on Facebook. So this is Facebook, not things like Facebook, just Facebook. And they've found that there's people, sharing child pornography and stuff on Facebook in secret groups. Or they're taking things that would normally just be normal images, but that paedophiles like, and videos and stuff, and they're making comments about the children which are of a kind of sexual nature. They basically blurred out a lot of the stuff on there, right? So you couldn't really see what they were showing you. That obviously you're not allowed to look at it, are you? So they weren't showing you like whether these were like 5-year-olds or anything. But it seemed it was mainly, in the bulk of it, it was like adolescent, underage people, or people who looked underage, and people. Things like groups that were to do related to schoolgirls, sexy schoolgirls, that type of stuff, and it had like lots of pictures of young, obviously children going to school, yeah. But there was no like toddlers or anything like really like completely off the wall sick. So that might be significant, right? Because you've got to remember that when I discovered, or Luke McKee found a secret group on Facebook. Called Sparkles the Pony, or it was a sort of a group that was it secret? I'm not even sure it was secret, but it wasn't. It was kind of like it was put up with a sort of secret name. So somebody put the group up. We know who put the group up. It was a guy called Jeremy Smith, or Jez Ibriz, and we know that the guy is involved with all sorts of sick stuff. But on that one, that was like little children they had on there. And they were like making euphemisms about raping them and torturing them, kidnapping them, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was not. So it didn't have any child abuse images on it. It didn't have any naked children. But you see, the thing is, it was the intent of what the people were saying was quite clear. Now, anyway, if you look up Sparkles the Pony on my other channel, Aussies Love Pedos, OZZIESLOVPEDOS. Right, yeah, Aussies Love Pedos, like OZZ, not AUS. Anyway, so that's where you can find out more about that. But it's really interesting that, BBC is completely run by the Jewish pedo mafia, as we know, right? So why is the BBC complaining to Facebook about child pornography, or basically groups for paedophiles to share information about children? Why are they pretending that they care about that? Because we know that the BBC is totally pro-paedophile, so it just doesn't make any sense. You've got to understand that Peter Tatchell is one of the BBC's favourite people. He's openly pro-paedophile, and he is a friend of the guy Gary Burns, who was the one who we tracked to the website that Facebook, the Facebook page, run by Jez Smith, called Sparkles the Pony. And it just doesn't really quite make sense, does it? Why would it be that they would be trying to pretend that they're, why would they be publicising the fact? I mean, if these are secret groups, they were talking about secret groups, and in my finding it was just groups that people don't know about, called inert things that, they kind of get lost like a needle in a haystack, and you only know where to look for them if you know where to look for them. The reason I think Luke found it was he found out that one of the accounts where, one of the big tricks the Jewish pedo mafia do is they hijack people's accounts, pretend to be people by having kind of clone accounts. Then they make comments about people, yeah? Or they'll make comments to themselves from you, if you like, yeah? But it wouldn't be you, it'd be them. And then they, basically will report you to the police for being, anti-Semitic or, making homophobic comments when in fact you haven't even made the comments. Do you see what I mean? So that's how Luke McKee found it. He found that they'd been these various numerous accounts they'd been using to fit John Sonnell up for court actions, which there've been many. There's been more than 100 now against the same person. And what they do is they actually create the offence, complain about it, go through a court with a load of Jewish paedophiles and paedophile sympathists and all sorts of weird, really, really weird perverts. Like one of the best things, the founder of that particular division of the courts in New South Wales said that HIV is not a disease, it's a lifestyle choice. She said that in public. This is the kind of stupid thing these people say. These people are complete freaks. But what I don't get is, why are the BBC drawing your attention to this? Now, I haven't thought this all through, I only got this today, but it would occur to me that, like I've said in the past, right, one thing that I always noticed was a bit odd was when certain people will start talking about somebody having sex with a 15-year-old or saying, that means that they're like a paedophile and they're in the same league as, like a kind of 60-year-old who wants to have sex with a 3-year-old or a 20-year-old who wants to have sex with a 3-year-old. It's completely abnormal. They can't have you can't have children when you're that age. That is 1,000 miles away from somebody having sex with someone who's just underage, who's basically, looks old enough. One's normal, might be socially irresponsible and, it's illegal in some places. But of course, the age of consent's different in different places. But the whole point is, there's children, then there's young adults and adolescents who may or may not be underage and may or may not have the sort of the societal sort of power and stuff to be on an equal footing and all these types of things. So it gets into a more complicated issue there. But the point is, I've been noticing this for a long time. What you can see of the pictures on this BBC channel, you can't really see what the people look like. But put it this way, the people they're showing the pictures of, because there's like one girl's leaning up against a countertop, right? And her waist comes up to the countertop, so she's clearly as big as a grown-up, yeah? So what they're trying to do here, I think, yeah, is this is all part of this, well, you find that 15-year-old attractive. Well, the 15-year-old might have been able to have had children for the last 4 or 5 years in some instances, not 4 years, whatever. That is, and so therefore, if somebody wants to have sex with a baby, then, or a 5-year-old, then you're just as bad, so we might as well just legalise it. You see the kind of thing I mean? It's like, there's a reason why virtually every country has an age of consent. I think they all have. Now, they might vary, but, the age of consent isn't going to be, in countries that have age of consent, the point is you're not meant to be having sex with children, yeah? Not if you and saying, oh, well, in our country it's 15-year-olds are children. Well, yeah, it's sort of a yes and no thing, yeah? But don't be thinking these people who go, look, it's a zero tolerance, it's all exactly the same. Those people are definitely working to try and legalise sex with children and animals. And when I say children, I mean little children. That's what I mean, yeah? Little children who come up to your waist, not little children who are 6 inches taller than you. Yeah, fair enough. I'm not saying you should be doing it, but the point is they are completely different things. And they're trying to make out they're the same. Now, where have they done this before, right? In the olden days, don't know that. Yeah, where have they done that in the past? They've done it with this homosexual thing, right? People used to think that people who had, like men who would sort of, had perverted interests in other men would probably have perverted interests in children, right? That's what people used to believe. However, nowadays, this has changed. And it's like they're completely separate. Now, the word homosexual, which a lot of people say, it's homophobic to use that word now, because it used to be to do with like the homosexual laws when it was illegal and stuff like that. Well, it's quite interesting. The word homosexual is a German-derived phrase. I don't mean homo or sexual are German words. I mean that is the anglicised translation of boy ravager, which I don't know how you say it in German, but homosexuals used to be called boy ravagers in German, and in Germany and Austria or whatever, Germanic countries, right? And so what happened was they thought, right, we're going to have to tone this down and make it, more legally and sort of, culturally sound words. So they thought, right, we'll call them homosexuals, yeah? So boy ravager turned to homosexual. So the actual derivation of the word homosexual, right, is a pederast, somebody who wants to go for adolescence, yeah, and boys. So this is very, very important. Now what they're doing here is they're trying to make out that they're really, 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 really concerned that somebody, might make an inappropriate comment about a 15-year-old girl. Now, you see what I'm trying to say? It's like that girl could look completely grown up. You couldn't really see from the photo, but wasn't a little kid. What they're trying to do is they're going to say, well, if you didn't know you wouldn't even know how old that girl was, possibly. You couldn't see the face, right? It's blurred out. But the whole point is what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, right, well, if no one found out, you check that 15-year-old. And if someone said, well, I'm not going to admit it, but yes, or 15, it doesn't. Some people at age look old enough, yeah? If somebody fancies you when you're 13 and you look old enough, like I was the same height as I am now, about the same weight, I was quite big in terms of, development, yeah? And, but I did used to think it was funny if a woman sort of stared at me who was quite a lot older. I would think it was a bit off, because I'd think, well, she shouldn't really be looking at sort of, children sort of thing. That's what I used to think. But at the same time, I didn't think of myself as a little kid, I was like, yeah, but it's clear that I'm not old. But then again, I suppose there's other people who'd be out like 20 who look the same age. That those people are not paedophiles who need to get put in prison. I never thought that. I just thought, if it was a teacher or something at school, then I would think, no, that's odd. They are odd. Why aren't they? Why aren't they interested in men their own age? They should cop on a bit and like realise not to do it. But the point is that there'd be no thought in my head that they need to go to prison for being a paedophile. And I don't think most, say, teenage girls think that men who, leer at them when they're walking past them in the street think they should go to prison. Do you see what I mean? They don't think they're a really potential threat. They just think they're leching on them just like they would when they're, the same as they would do if they were 20. But that's pretty much how they think about it. Now, it depends, again, how old they actually look and exactly what degree of this age. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to call it. This BBC thing is definitely there, because this is something I brought up with that Bill Maloney when I didn't realise he was a COINTELPRO. I said, why are you calling all these people pedos, talking about somebody who's, allegedly raped someone in a young offenders. If you rape a great big strapping young man in a young offenders, that is not the same as having sex with a baby, right? And it's not the same as having sex with a 9-year-old, and it's not the same as having sex with a 5-year-old, if we can even call it sex, or should we just call it what it is? It's sodomy, isn't it? Or it's, it's sexual abuse. It's not actual sex, because again, the language, they call it sex. The word sex used to mean a man or a woman, like a binary thing. They thought, right, we'll start using that word to mean copulate or, fornication or whatever. And the reason they do that is because then they can start saying things like have sex. Now, if you were talking about, do you see what I'm trying to say? And sex act. I'm sure that's all planned, because now they can now say, oh, homosexual sex, but it's not sex, is it? Because that, you see how the line of where that word's been used has been perverted off to be used for, for abuse, right? It's been abused, and therefore it's also been used to justify abuse, because they're trying to say that things are just like perverted lewd acts. It wouldn't normally have been considered sex, are now sort of considered a type of sex. So therefore, if it's a dog or a little kid or up somebody's arsehole, or, you know, any of these various sick things are now being pushed to be normal, they would never have been considered normal, right? So, and they would have been considered disgusting, and they would have been considered disgusting pretty much wherever you went all the way through history, apart from in places where they went too far, like Sodom and Gomorrah, if it even existed. But I think we know that in ancient Greek and stuff and Rome, before they fell, they just imploded on themselves. They blame barbarians for taking them over. There's no way the barbarians could have taken the place over if the people hadn't could become totally degenerate, and that's what's happened. So anyway, yeah, what I'm saying is this Bill Maloney, what he would do is he would say that, you know, like, this guy, he's a paedophile. He shagged, you know, he raped this 19-year-old in a care home or something. And it's not in a care home, in a young offenders. And it's like, well, yeah, that's not very nice. It's wrong, it's a crime, but let's just call it what it is. It's a rape, isn't it? Or it's forced buggery or something. Yeah? It's not paedophilia, is it? It just isn't. So don't call it that. And this is what they're doing here. And I actually contacted him right at the start, and I said, why are you mixing up somebody buggering or allegedly buggering someone who's 19 in a prison, right, with care home abuse? Like, you know, your kids get taken off you, they go to a care home, they're little kids, they can't look after themselves. That's completely different. Both are wrong, but they're not the same. And by trying to say they're the same, it's exactly like saying, oh, homosexuality now is, you know, not the same as being a pedo, so they separate them off, get one bit in, and then they start mixing them back together and saying, if you don't like the gay lifestyle, like David Cameron says when he says, in response to, you know, Philip Schofield asking him what he's going to do to investigate child abuse, he says, what I don't want a gay witch hunt. Well, that's Tony Blair. That's how Tony Blair speaks, isn't it? I got the accent wrong, but if you follow through on this one, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make out if you were sexually attracted to a fully mature or pretty much mature, you know, grown-up woman, because they were all pictures of women as well on there. No pictures of little boys from what I could make out. And every single, you know, site name they mentioned, none of them were to do with boys. Now, we know that most of the paedophiles are, and pederasts are homosexual. So they never mention that. So this is highly suspicious. It's kind of a bold move, and a lot of people say, well, it's good, I agree with it. I agree with it, and they shouldn't be allowed secret groups on Facebook, I don't think. Or they should be very well policed. But the point is that this is definitely for a Jewish paedophile normalisation agenda, because that's what the people at the BBC, that's what they're behind. That is their ethos. So there's no way they're doing this to protect young girls. They're not. Anyway, I'd like your thoughts on this. I said, I'm sure that's what they're doing. It's a bold move, and they're trying to trivialise it. They are trying to trivialise it because they're just going to say they're trying to appeal to the bit inside someone who says, oh, that woman looks like she's a grown-up woman. Oh, that one looks like she's a grown-up woman. Oh, that one looks like she's a grown-up woman. Facebook is crawling with paedophiles trying to meet children, right? Occupy Paedophilia, St. Petersburg, yeah? The only reason it's called Occupy Paedophilia, yeah, is because they would only ever go after people, right, who'd been trying to meet up with children on the internet, right? And then when they, you know, like kind of humiliated the people and, you know, put it on film and roughed them up and stuff and then put it on the internet, when that happened, yeah, the gays spoke out against it and said it was homophobic, right? And that was because all the people who were trying to meet children underage, they knew the kids were underage, they pretend to be underage, they go and meet them, all of them, right? They were all young boys, I'm pretty sure, yeah? Or most of them. And that's why the gays didn't like it, because the gays felt under threat because they're all going with children. Or not all of them, but not enough of them. And instead of saying, well, you shouldn't be going off with children, that's disgusting, the other gays go, oh no, it's anti-gay, it's anti-gay. This is what's happening here. So anyway, hopefully you'll let me know what you think about this, but this is very significant. I'll put the link in the description, okay? Thanks very much. My name's Tom Carhill. It's 13:20 on Thursday the 23rd of March 2017. Bye bye.